Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Ice Cream for Everyone podcast. This is Willem Vanderhorst, your host. So, today we have a very exciting episode, or had a very exciting episode. I'm not even sure. I was excited about it, but there's been a little bit of a technical issue with it. It's very unfortunate, and I've been spending the last 2 days trying to repair an audio file that is not really working very well, and wondering exactly what I should do, whether I should publish anything or not. So to give you a little bit of background, and for anybody just joining in the middle of this Ice Cream for Everyone podcast, this is a podcast. It's usually a conversation and interview-based podcast where I go and interview creators, designers, people who work in marketing and advertising, people who are game designers. And this is the game design area that we're in, and many different types of design, because I went to talk to the guys at Sensible Object. Sensible Object is a new studio that was created last year by Alex Fleetwood. Alex Fleetwood is previously known for a company called Hide and Seek that he ran from 2006 to 2013. And I went to several other events. It's a company in London that was particularly known for putting up play and game experience events and of many different kinds. So at cultural centers, for private companies, as well as big gaming days. And that's how I knew about them, because we had like friends in common, and I went to the Hide and Seek weekenders that happened in the South Bank Centre in London, or at least one of them did that I went to. They also had a Kickstarter project a few years ago called Tiny Games, which was an application that also had like really cool coasters, beer coasters that I got that level of Kickstarter backing, so I still have these pretty cool Tiny Games coasters that you have, well, basically tiny games on them. So there's like small games that you can play while you're having a beer, having a drink. And Alex has been working on a new game with his team at Sensible Objects that are based at the Makerversity in Somerset House. And it's a 17th century building, and there's a lot of different initiative for the arts and culture, including this thing called Makerversity. And I met up with Tim, so in the end, Alex couldn't make it for the interview, so we'd had a bit of a change of plan. And I met with Tim Burrell-Saward. I think I'm saying this right. Apologies, Tim, if I'm not saying your name correctly. Tim is one of the lead designers on the project, and they are at the moment at the final phases of a crowdfunding Kickstarter project for a brand new type of game, a brand new game and a brand new type of game, which is what got me pretty excited about it. And it's called Fabulous Beasts. And Fabulous Beasts is a game that mixes physical pieces of a board game with the digital elements of a video game. And this is what we talk about in the whole interview. So I went to see them over at their studio. I went to see all the different digs that they've got at the Makerversity, which is a whole brand new thing that's installed. It's not brand new, but it's recent. It wasn't there when I was in London last, and so I'm rediscovering everything after having spent a few years in Asia. So it's got a lot of people that, well, as the name says, make stuff, and there's elements that are available, workshops, 3D printers, working on wood. So woodworking, equipment, all sorts of different stuff. There's hot desks, and there's a lot of different desks and different companies, as many people that are freelancing and people that are just starting up, like Sensible Object. And they've been working for over a year on this game called Fabulous Beasts. So there's something that happened in the recording, and I'm really, really disappointed about it. It's probably not that big a deal. I might be making a mountain out of a molehill. It's possible. But basically throughout like 80%, 90% of the recording, there's this just like light tapping in the background. Like while people are speaking, there's just like, it's just a bit of a tapping. And I've been trying different things. I've been reading tutorials online. I've been watching videos to remove clicks, to remove noise, pops, all sorts of stuff. And I can't manage to do it. I need to get like a little bit better at my equipment. I'm still, it's not only amateurish, but it's like the bad kind of amateurish right now. I apologize for that. So what happens is, I've split the interview in a few different parts, and, I hesitated publishing it as it was, but given it really annoyed me and I could barely listen to the whole thing because of that, I thought, you know what, if it doesn't work for me, I can't put it out to other people. But there's still some really good bits in there. So what I've done is I split out the interview and put it to the essential questions. And I'm going to be doing a little bit of filler in the meantime. So the first like 4 or 5 minutes are pretty good. So there's none of that tapping and clicking sound. So we're going to do that. And then the following 5 minutes, the tapping and clicking sound starts. But that's where really Tim introduces what Fabulous Beasts is all about. So I'll let you be the judge of how well it works. And then I'll be paraphrasing a little bit more bits in our conversation. And then I'll add a little bit more bit from the intro. So this is going to be like a bit experimental and edited more as a podcast episode, a lot more than I used to. But I got some lessons into how to do something in the future. Hopefully there might be opportunities to be having conversations more in detail as the ones I usually like to have on the podcast with Alex or Tim or some other members of the team at Sensible Object to talk about everything, like, their background and everything to do with their inspiration about the game. But let's go for the first 10 minutes, and then I'll be back for a few more details and comments. Hi, Tim.
Hey.
Hi. Thank you very much for joining me. So we had a little bit of a change of plans, I believe, but I'm with Tim, you're the lead designer at Sensible Object, right?
Yeah, that's correct, yeah.
And we're going to be talking about a few different things, but particularly the game that you're developing called Fabulous Beasts. But before we go there, I usually start with a warm-up question. So this is just so you know, the Ice Cream for Everyone podcast. And starting with a warm-up question, I saw very quickly on the way, even though things changed and I didn't have much time to prepare, that you are a hat collector.
Yes.
And how many hats do you have?
Figurative hats, I have. You have to have a lot of hats to do this kind of work. I think everybody in here wears many different hats depending on the job they're doing every day. So yeah. Frequently changing, expanding collection of hats, yeah.
But you don't have actual physical hats? No physical hats?
I've probably got 2 physical hats. No, these were... These hats are definitely figurative hats.
Okay, so all the different jobs that you're doing.
That's correct, yeah. I've got maybe 2 hats, actual hats.
Okay. That's actually funny. I thought you were a hat collector. I'm very disappointed.
Maybe I should be.
I don't know. So I had a very quick stalk of your LinkedIn profile, and believe you started out as a product designer. You're studying product design?
That's right. So I graduated about 10 years ago studying traditional product design. So industrial design with a slight focus on aesthetics, I guess you could say. Very process heavy, so very much the traditional way of studying these subjects, way before things like 3D printing and these kind of technologies were available. So it's been really exciting seeing those develop in my professional career. But I've ended up doing a number of different things from, I spent the last 4 years making interactive installations for museums and exhibitions and that kind of thing. And that's actually how I came about filling this role, which is Alex, our founder and CEO, through his previous company, Hide and Seek, who made very experiential audience participation-based live games, typically. I did some work for that company for a project at Kensington Palace, building a 3-meter tall talking throne for one of their events. Okay. So yeah, from there we started talking, and the idea of this particular endeavor came to mind. Okay. And then we've all 5 of us in the studio have all kind of gravitated around Alex and sharing his ideas, but with very different skill sets.
Cool.
Yeah.
And were you always into gaming? Is that something that you're interested in? Or
oh god, yeah. I've grown up with gaming in all its forms. Tabletop gaming, video gaming. Yeah, I'm a unashamed consumer of all things game related. So this has been my first physical game product to be involved in and project. It's been an incredible learning curve for me personally. When you are designing something for production, especially physical objects, there are many factors involved in it. Typically manufacturability, aesthetic questions, but then also when you've got suddenly this third factor of playability,
Yeah.
That's a really nice extra spoke to have to deal with. So it's been a great ride. Yeah.
Awesome. And was there a moment that you remember where you thought I really would love to design games, or?
Yeah. So, and this is actually something that's reflected with some of the other team members, and especially Alex. Making one-off games or installations is incredibly fun. It's massively rewarding. But you always have that moment where once the doors close or the exhibition finishes, it ceases to be. That's the end, and you move on to the next thing. So the idea of being able to create something that's perhaps more sustainable or has a larger reach, that still has some of those qualities that are so rewarding from installation work, and opportunities like that you can't say no to.
Yeah. All right. Excellent. So, Fabulous Beasts. Can you tell us? I mean, there's obviously a lot of information about it. You're in the middle of your Kickstarter crowdfunding project at the moment. You've been working on it for how long?
It's got to be coming up to a year now.
Yeah, up to a year.
Yeah.
Can you give us the gist of how it works?
Yeah, with pleasure. So, I'll paint the picture for people who can't see. Sitting in front of us, we have a series of physical objects. There's 24 artifacts, we call them, all different shapes and sizes. And in the middle of the table is a central platform, which is kind of like a weighing scales, if you like. Now, the platform talks wirelessly to a tablet or smartphone that we've got in front of us on the table. And the two know what each of them are up to. So the way that the game will play is that with this current game mode, it's a cooperative game mode. We, the two of us, would be tasked with creating a fabulous world. We are gods creating a new world. And the way we do that is to introduce creatures, which we do by placing the various different physical blocks onto the tower, onto the platform. Each block that we put on will wirelessly and totally invisibly talk to the tablet so that the tablet knows the pieces that we've decided to put on. So, for instance, in my hand, I have a shark. If I wanted to play the shark, I would scan it to the tower. The tower would know which piece I have. And then as soon as I put it onto the top of the platform, the tablet will introduce the shark into the world, into the digital game. Now, the digital game is where your ecosystem plays out. So that shark will give me some points. And the aim of this particular game is to get the most points possible, the most fabulous creatures before the tower collapses and the world kind of explodes.
So in that sense, it's collaborative, right? It's not competitive in the way you're playing.
That's correct. So a really nice thing about doing a game that's some parts physical and some parts digital is that we're able to create new game modes with very little extra expense to the end user. So I play a lot of tabletop games, and quite often you'll have the core game, and then they'll announce an expansion, and the expansion will have extra pieces, and there's a larger cost there for the extra game mode that you might get from it. With us, we can push those purely digitally if we want to. So the game that's currently on Kickstarter is a cooperative game, but also we have a competitive game, a versus mode that we are working on that we'd very much like to release. And also a really fun mode that I like that we're not sure what we're going to do with is mole mode, which is where, for all intended purposes, it's cooperative, but one player would be tasked with trying to destroy the tower without being found out.
Okay, so we have all these different pieces, different colors, strange shapes. And the last few days, I've been following a little bit of what's going on in the Kickstarter and watching the videos. I'm very excited. I've been sharing it with friends, right?
Thank you.
And one of the things I've been explaining, it's a tower balancing game, like an evolved Jenga of some kind, right? And connected. But everybody was asking me, but I don't understand. Why is it connected? What's happening on the tablet or smartphone then?
Yeah.
I don't...
Yeah, that's a good question, and it's something that we've heard so many times now that it's really important to explain that properly. Most people have been, maybe it's preconceptions, thinking that it's a physical game that has an app, for instance, attached to it. This is different. The game, the digital game and the physical game are really tied together. So you're not just building a tower. That's the first thing. You can if you want, but the game, when it's played with the depth in mind that we've been striving for, the things that you're going to play physically, the objects you're going to place on the tower, you're going to choose those based on what's happening in the digital world, in the game on the screen. So sometimes you may want to play a particular piece physically because it's nice and easy, it will give you a stable platform, but it would be the absolute wrong thing to do because of what's happening on the screen. So to answer your question specifically, the screen acts as kind of like as the world overview, if you like. It's where all of your beasts live. It's where you can see them. It's where you can check whether they're healthy or, to use the name of our mechanic, whether they're jealous or not, how fabulous they are. And then you want to try and balance that and try and work the world to get the highest score possible. So you need the two. The two are very much linked together.
Okay, so this is where I decided to just cut out, and I'm going to be talking a little bit more about Fabulous Games. First, it was, as I said, I was with them at the studio. It was really great to see all the different pieces. You wouldn't believe, I mean, we talk a lot about 3D printing and how possible it is, which is amazing to do 3D printing, but everything they were doing and all the experiments from one stage to another of the design of the game, you know, a 3D printer takes 12 to 16 or 18 hours to produce one of the pieces that they had. And, you know, they were trying different shapes and trying different geometries and trying different ways to stack them. And as much as Fabulous Beasts, as much as Fabulous Beasts is a really interesting blend of a traditional physical balancing game and a populace-like or goddess-like god game where you're creating this kind of world together, and the tools to create the world is the pieces that you have and the physical pieces that you're going to be stacking up with your friends. And this is really interesting. But of course, it raises a lot of questions as to, okay, so what's the good blend for them in terms of what's playable? So what's going to be fun to stack together and put together without it being completely obvious? So it's not Jenga, it's something quite different. And also the other thing is it looks from the outside that you're stacking pieces on a tower, which is, in effect, it is what you're doing. But the main important thing, or it's just indissociable from the fact that you're creating a world with these animals in it. And the more you mix up the different elements that changes the animal. So, for example, you have different types of pieces on there. And I will be linking to a lot of the reviews. There's a lot of reviews on the Kickstarter page for Fabulous Beasts. And they've been getting really, really good reviews. They got, you know, hundreds of thousands of views out of videos from like gaming videos like the Yogscast. They're on Geek Dad. They're on Vice Gaming. They're on many other different types of interviews that go over the mechanics of the game extremely well. So I'll be linking to that. I might be even embedding a couple of videos on the blog post that's going to be posting this particular app. But just to describe it for anybody who's like listening straight up to the podcast without checking up the blog or the show notes, you have 6 animals. So there's an eagle, there's a boar, there's a parrot, there's an octopus. So these are the Fabulous Beasts. Well, at least the normal ones. So when you tag them onto the tower and they appear inside of your virtual world on the tablet or mobile that you have next to it, that's one thing. So you start populating it with animals. And then you have to feed them in a way. The way that you feed them is with the elements. So there's different cubes that have these strange shapes and different colors that are based on elements. So air, water, earth, and fire that feed the beasts as they go. And then you have these other types of trappings that are, one looks like a cross. It's a cross pattern. And the other one is an arrow, essentially. So if you tag and add those to your tower, you can crossbreed some of your animals or make them go from water to air or to land. They change the beasts change their shape and becomes more or less fabulous, which is like creating more points for you as you play the game. And then there's 2 more kind of like very strangely shaped pieces. One looks like a knot and the other one looks like kind of a snake. And then the 2 miracle pieces. One forces you to be tapping stuff on the screen while you're stacking. So you have to be coordinated a little bit more in your movements. And if you manage to do that, you earn more points. And the other one gives you a time limit to keep playing the game. And everything is calculated by sensors. So each one of the pieces has NFC tags. It was RFID tags in the beginning. So different types of technologies. And this is something else that we talk about with Tim. So of course they've been doing it out of the Makerversity over there, 3D printing everything, testing it as it goes, doing a lot of different play tests. And as they were ready to launch their crowdfunding project, well, they're very much realizing the fact that they're going to need to go to professional, factories essentially to assemble and manufacture the game. And from a manufacturing standpoint, I believe you were recently, and I saw some videos, and we just quickly chatted about it, but you were in Hong Kong and China to meet with, can you tell us a little bit about the manufacturing?
Yeah, I'd be absolutely happy to, because it was a dream trip for me. Yeah. So Chris and I went out to Hong Kong and mainland China, as you said, to essentially make contacts with people who can help us actually get this thing made, because you can be the best designer in the world, but if you're over here and you're getting something made over in China, there's an awful lot of things that can go wrong.
Yeah.
So it's really important, especially with the state that crowdfunding is in now, whereby unfortunately enough projects have gone wrong that people are starting to be slightly more cautious with the things that they back.
Yeah.
It was the same with the App Store when that first started. There was this influx and it was a gold rush. Yeah. And then people start to question it and they define roles and it'll eventually stabilize. And I think what we're seeing now, personally, I think we're seeing the start of that stabilization. So you have to be really careful as a company using the platform to make sure that people are confident that you can deliver the thing that they're willing to put their money up for. So we took ourselves out to China partly to make concrete connections with people who can do the physical making, but also to show the potential backers how serious we are about this. We've done our due diligence. We can tell you the factories that we're going to use. We've met the owners of the factories. They've taken us out for dinner. We've seen the machines that they're going to be made on. We know the components that are inside it. We know the costs that we're showing are accurate costs. We know we can afford to make this thing made, and we can make it made well. So all of these things, I think, as a creator and also as a backer of other projects myself, these are things that I look for to make sure that I'm going to see this thing made.
Yeah, absolutely. I have spent quite a few years in Asia, and you just talked about the dinner. Any favorite foods over there?
I could tell you my least favorite foods.
Okay,
chicken feet.
Ah, yes.
Now, I know that this is a delicacy, and
were they the fried version or the one that comes out of the pack at the 7-Eleven?
Oh, this was in a restaurant in mainland China. It came out in a little kind of broth with the toes sticking out. It looked like
that's another.
It looked kind of like Yoda's foot just sticking out there, with the nails and the hairs. And oh god, I hope no one's eating when they listen to this. Yeah,
it's also a snack over there. I remember sometimes hanging around central mainland China one time in Chengdu, coming back from a nightclub with a bunch of friends and girls, and the first thing they would go to at the shop, so the 7-Eleven, at 5 a.m., pretty drunk, is to go buy a packet of chicken feet, and they're different flavors, like crisps.
Really?
Yeah, so they're sous vide, you can pull out your chicken feet, and there's different flavors. There's the spicy kind, or the sweet and sour one, and the one with the seaweed flavor, or...
I pride myself on trying different cuisines, but I think it was the texture and the presentation and the fact that the payoff, it just tasted like chicken. The form factor isn't very... They need to work on the presentation, I think.
Yeah. Well, they love it. I've never been a huge fan as well, but it's funny.
Yeah,
it's quite funny.
Each to their own.
Absolutely. It was a fun conversation we had with Tim, and I hope to be able to talk to him again about... He has a wealth of knowledge about creating physical objects and mixing technology inside of it. And one thing that came around talking about that is... I don't know if you heard of the term the Internet of Things. But that's something that's coming back more and more in conversation. So the idea, for example, of your fridge being connected to your phone, being connected to Twitter, and you have different types of sensors, and these sensors interact with the physical world. So having a weight sensor at the base of the tower for Fabulous Beasts is one of the ways in which the digital platform, the game inside of the tablet or the mobile phone as an application, can interact with the physical world around you. And one of the ways that you can do that, and anybody can do that, and they have been doing that for Fabulous Beasts, is working with a technology called Arduino. There's another one similar called Raspberry Pi, but I know Arduino a little bit more. I participated in a workshop a few years ago of Arduino to be able to understand better the basis of it. Essentially, what it is a little square component, like a small circuit board, which is essentially a mini computer. And it has a few entries and exits of different ports. And it's very easy to learn, and there's a lot of different stuff online to learn how to make stuff with it. And what you can do is the function of it is to interact and exist between a computer or computer device like a mobile phone and a physical object, and allowing you to interact with the real world through sensors. So, for example, you could attach a thermometer to it, and a thermometer sensor calculates a certain temperature, and you program your Arduino board to say, okay, well, and then you can plug it into a phone or plug it into a Wi-Fi emitter receiver and tell it, okay, well, if the temperature drops too much, please send me a tweet so that I can do whatever. I'm saying temperature because that's what we were talking about with Tim. We were talking about brewing and home brewing beer, and that's one of his next projects is going to be building a thermometer. I'll leave that to you in the last part of the interview. It's just a few minutes to conclude it with the cool down questions. I usually finish with a few cool down questions.
Okay.
And the traditional one, because it's the Ice Cream for Everyone podcast, is, do you like ice cream?
Yes. Surely no one has ever said no to that.
Well, actually, there had one person tell me no. I usually just go in for asking, like, what's the favorite flavor? But sometimes I ask, what...
Ooh,
is that a tough question?
One. That is a tough question. That's a really tough question. If I had to choose one right now, it's going to be mint choc chip.
Really?
Every time. Every time.
I say really because this is not the first time I say this, but I'm going to have to do some kind of studies. The vast majority of the people I interview tell me that that's their favorite flavor.
Yeah, because it's the best. Yeah.
I'm going to wonder if there's some correlation between designing things and eating mint choc flavors.
That's a good study there.
Another interest of mine is craft beer.
Yeah.
And I started homebrewing beer in Singapore. Is that do you have any kind of interest in beer?
Yeah, I have my first attempt at homebrew.
You do?
Was an IPA.
Yeah.
It's sitting at home. It's the most disgusting thing I've ever made. I've got 48 bottles of it.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
I'm going to have to get rid of the whole thing.
Oh, that's so sad.
It's my fault. I obviously did something hideously wrong.
Did you do it from the grain or with a starter kit?
It was a starter kit, yeah. Okay. But being England, temperatures are not particularly reliable. So I think it was the temperature change that did me in. That
is one of the toughest things. Is if you have to have one of the things that makes the most difference to a brew is the temperature change.
Yeah. So I think what I'm going to do is I've got a circuit in mind for my head using an Arduino that will regulate that. So hopefully, touch wood, next time.
Cool. Well, Tim, thank you so much for your time. It's been really, really interesting. And I'll add all the links of everything we talked about in the show notes. Perfect. And good luck with the rest of the Kickstarter. And good luck with the rest of the production of Fabulous Beasts. I'm looking forward to seeing this one and whatever else Sensible Object creates, basically.
Thank you very much.
Okay, everyone. Well, that's about it for this quite short, I believe. It's going to be a little bit of a short episode of the Ice Cream for Everyone podcast. I mean, it's a different episode. That's the main thing. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed finding out about Fabulous Beasts. Listen, the main intention here is going to be more than anything to do promotion, to tell you about Fabulous Beasts. If you've never heard about it, go and check it out. If it's still time, like this weekend, there's still a few days left to the end of the Kickstarter project at the time I'm recording this. So go and check out the Kickstarter project. I'm going to be adding some of the reviews, some more of the information about the game itself and the people who designed it, as I mentioned. So yeah, I encourage you to go and check it out. Otherwise, on the rest of what's going on Ice Cream for Everyone, I have more interviews coming up that should be the more traditional type of interviews, going in depth with someone, with a creator, a designer. I've been getting in touch with a lot of very interesting people. It's going to be a mix between the world of branding and marketing, the world of game design, tabletop gaming, as well as video games. There's going to be a lot of different people coming on board and talking about these different topics. Aside from that, there's everything as usual is on my website. That's icecreamforeveryone.net, www.icecreamforeveryone.net. Everything spelled out, of course. All right, well, that's about it for now. I'll talk to you again next week. Bye.